Welcome to the Federal Retirement Podcast. My name is David Raetz from Benchmark Financial Group, and every month we discuss important topics regarding the retirement planning process for federal employees. This Lunch and Learn series is an interactive discussion where individuals can ask questions. To join these discussions live, you may register by joining our email list at bfgkc.com. We also provide in-person retirement planning and benefit education to federal employees. To learn more about these seminars or to schedule a seminar at your federal agency, go to our website at bfgkc.com and click on seminars. Additionally, if you're looking for assistance to get your retirement on the right track, set up an appointment with us today. You can schedule an appointment online by visiting our website at bfgkc.com or email me at david.raetz@bfgkc.com. The contact information is also listed in the description. By setting up a complimentary consultation, we can review your financial situation and develop a plan to meet your financial goals. We hope you enjoyed this topic and hope to connect with you soon.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Benchmark Financial Group's November webinar. My name is Gary Raetz, and I'm the founder of Benchmark Financial Group. As we get closer to the end of the year, we will be discussing the process of retirement for federal employees. Retirement is exciting, and it usually is filled with questions and uncertainties, especially regarding finances. The question often asked is when will I see my first retirement checks? Today, David Raetz, president of Benchmark Financial Group, will discuss the timeline for the retirement payments and what to anticipate in the retirement timeline that will help ease the transition into this new and exciting phase of life. David?
Well, thanks for tuning in to this month's call, everyone. It's that time of year again where we've got a lot of folks, we're having conversations with a lot of folks that are gearing up for an end of the year retirement, like Dad and Patty were talking about a second ago. And inevitably, there's usually a list of questions that crop up in terms of just trying to get a handle on the process of dealing with OPM. And in a nutshell, every retiree that has to, every federal employee that retires from the government has to deal with OPM as a retiree. But I always say OPM is kind of like this black hole where you throw your name in the hat and hope it lands on top and hurry up and wait until they get back to you. So usually the best course of action is to try your best to familiarize yourself with the process so there aren't any surprises that crop up as you're going through. So feel free to chime in with any questions. But like you said, thought it'd be worthwhile to touch on OPM's process, the process of dealing with OPM and how long it takes to actually get some money out of OPM and start getting your actual FERS pension payments. So, all righty. So some of the main questions that oftentimes crop up when folks are gearing up to retire at the end of the year and in terms of dealing with OPM, one of the main ones that usually hits the top of the list, people are always wondering how long it's going to take them to get their first pension. So question number one, how long is it going to take to get that first pension payment? Usually the second follow-up question is, how long does it take to actually get the full amount? Because you'll start getting interim pension payments while OPM is essentially auditing your service history, but you don't really know what the partial or interim payment's going to be. Sometimes it's 30%, sometimes it's 50%, sometimes it's 70%. So in that sense, that piece of things can be a bit frustrating, but usually the best course of action is to get all the identifying information that you can control, get all of that situated and submitted to OPM the correct way, and it just reduces the margin for error that exists. And in addition to the pension pieces of things, there are oftentimes a lot of questions about all the other benefits. OPM is one of the main entities that you deal with as a retiree, but inevitably there's questions that crop up about health insurance, dental and vision, TSP. So getting a handle on all the different entities that you communicate with is always an important piece of the pie when you're putting together a roadmap of retirement and navigating the waters with the Office of Personnel Management. So what are some of the main bullet points or checklists that you want to be aware of in terms of the overall processing time and items of information that you want to be aware of? So first two things that you got to keep an eye out for: final paycheck and your annual leave payment. Those are paid by your agency. So, and those usually get paid a couple weeks after the point of formally retiring, or once you set your formal retirement date. After you get those two pieces of the pie, you'll eventually get a notification of separation from the National Finance Center. The letter from NFC about your notification of separation is your checkbox to know that. So once once your agency pays out the final paycheck and annual leave, then they shift everything to the Office of Personnel Management. So once you get the NFC notice of separation, you know that your agency has shifted all of your information to OPM and things are moving in a forward direction. Eventually, a few weeks after the notice of separation, the Office of Personnel Management will mail you a welcome packet. And it's kind of like, congrats on being a new federal retiree and welcome to the Office of Personnel Management, because OPM is the entity that you deal with for everything as a retiree, at least with the pension piece of things. In the OPM welcome packet, there's going to be an important piece of identifying information that you always want to keep in a safe spot. That's going to be your Civil Service Annuitant number, or CSA number. It's essentially your identification number as a federal retiree with the Office of Personnel Management, but it's an important number to have access to throughout the process of being a retiree, because it's your main identification with OPM. So you have any questions that you want to get answered, or any sort of question that requires identifying information on you, it's going to be tied to that CSA number. And then interim pension payments as well. People are always trying to get a handle on how long it's going to take, how long they're going to be floating in limbo land getting interim pension payments before OPM finalizes it and gets you the full pension payment amount. So there's always this buffer zone where you're getting a portion of what the full pension's supposed to be, but you don't get the full pension payment right away. So in terms of the processing time, or just some general identifying items to be aware of, oftentimes HR wants to get the retirement paperwork, or just get the ball rolling with identifying information for you 90 days prior to retirement. So we've seen scenarios over the years where folks have submitted their retirement paperwork long before, 6 months, 8 months. We've also seen it on the flip side where the people are trying to retire from a certain agency and HR is bogged down with this, that, and the other thing, and they haven't gotten around to processing formal retirement by the time the retirement date hit, which causes a laundry list of headaches that you have to deal with. So generally, you want to confirm with an HR person, if at all possible, about how much lead time they want with that retirement paperwork stack. OPM backlog, this is truly a scenario where you plan for the worst and hope for the best. End of the year is always a bottleneck of folks retiring. So it's the processing times are always usually a little bit longer when you retire at the end of the year, but there are definite pros to retiring at the end of the year as well, especially if you're looking to maximize your annual leave payment. So, and in a nutshell, the earlier you submit your application, the less chance there is of delay. So any sort of identifying information that you would need, usually military time is a big one. So if you can get a copy of your DD-214 or a copy of the military buyback receipt, that just reduces the margin for error that might crop up in terms of lag time with OPM getting your retirement paperwork processed in a timely manner. And the red bullet point at the bottom is an important one. If you submit the FERS retirement paperwork stack and things aren't filled out 100% correct, it can cause an extended delay in you getting your full benefits paid to you. So it's always important to remember that to dot all the I's and cross all the T's in the right spot. So what happens first? Like we said a second ago, final paycheck comes from your agency, usually about 2 to 3 weeks after the formal retirement date. Your annual leave payment also gets paid by your agency, usually about 2 or 3 weeks after the final retirement date as well. One of the reasons a lot of folks gravitate towards the end of the year for retirement is if you carried over a maximum amount of annual leave and then strategically saved as much leave as possible in that last year of retirement, in theory, you could cash out. If you didn't use any leave the last year you're employed, you could carry over 240 hours and then accumulate another 208 hours. So you cash out with 448 hours of annual leave. For whatever quirky reason, the leave year tends to end the first couple days in January. So one of the main reasons that people look to go at the end of the year is if you can retire at 12/31, there's no delay in your first pension getting processed in a timely manner, but you also don't lose the annual leave balance that you've accumulated throughout the course of the last year of employment. And that leave payment, like if you retired 12/31/2024, the leave payment is taxable income in the 2025 tax year. So some of the main high level reasons why a lot of people eyeball the end of the year for retirement time frame. And then knowing the interim pension process. The interim pension process is essentially OPM auditing your service history. So if you got things in your past that would cause your service history to be a little bit more colorful, then it's definitely a scenario where you want to do some due diligence and make sure that you got all the identifying information correct before you submit it to OPM. So you don't want to get halfway down the road and then realize that you didn't have a military receipt or some piece of identifying information that OPM needed that you accidentally forgot to add into the stack. So, and like we said a second ago, the NFC notification of separation letter, it's essentially the heads up that your agency has transferred all your information to OPM. Once you retire and that process takes place, you don't deal with your agency anymore. You deal with the Office of Personnel Management for everything going forward. That's usually a couple weeks after the point of retirement. So CSA number, like we said a second ago, it's essentially your identification number as an OPM retiree. Once you get that welcome packet, it'll have it's kind of like, it looks like a credit card, but it's kind of like a cardstock piece of paper that has that CSA number on it. After you get the welcome packet from OPM, they'll snail mail you a temporary password for you to log into OPM's website, which is Services Online. OPM, if you try to get a hold of them over the phone, you can, but in our experience, it's usually at least 45 minutes to an hour of waiting on hold. And then God forbid you don't accidentally press a button and get disconnected while you're on hold. That's happened a few times, but so OPM does have their Services Online website, which is servicesonline.opm.gov. It's kind of like the most useful piece of information when you're going through the process to get periodic updates on where things are at in where things are at in process. So it's not like a scenario where they're updating it daily, but they'll periodically give you a heads up once they've assigned you a case manager. Once you get your first interim pension payment, they'll have a statement for that. So, or if you need to adjust anything for tax withholding, the easiest place to do that is on OPM Services Online website. And then once you get that CSA number, you know that you're on the books as a retiree with TSP as well. So it usually takes about 3-4 weeks for you to be on the books as a retiree with thrift savings plan. So TSP is not directly tied to OPM. They're on their own island. It's a federal program, obviously, but it's not directly intertwined with your pension in terms of the processing at the point of retirement. So this one's just a snapshot of what that CSA number looks like. Like I said, it's like a cardstock piece of paper that looks kind of like it's like credit card size, but it has that number on there, your identification number as a federal retiree. So interim pay status. So after OPM receives the paperwork from your agency, that's when essentially you're on interim pay status. General rule of thumb, interim pay is usually about 60 to 80% of your full final pension annuity. And that's just the pension. That doesn't include the supplement piece as well. So, and then your first full pension payment usually is about 2-3 months after the point of formally separating service for you to get your finalized pension amount. But like we said a second ago, the more colorful your service history is, the longer it could hypothetically take to process. So usually if you get a former spouse that's entitled to a portion of the pension, your first pension payment, that's a scenario where you want to do some due diligence on the front end, because that takes a little bit extra time to process at OPM. So, and depending on how complex your service history is, directly equates to how long it's going to take to get things processed. So, and it's kind of a scary thing, but it's more knowing the cards that you're working with. If you've got a colorful service history, it's nothing to be scared of. It's more you just want to do some work on the front end to get all the correct identifying information to OPM, so there aren't any surprises and potential delays. The final pension payment, how does that process work? When can I expect it? So OPM verifies your service history before issuing the final FERS amount, and then they pay you retroactive payments of the benefits that you were supposed to get while you're on interim status. But they also subtract on the back end any health insurance premiums, FEGLI premiums, things that would have been considered a deduction while you're on interim pay as well. So what happens to FEHB and dental and vision at the point of retirement? FEHB is transferred to OPM after retirement. Once you're on interim pay, when you're on interim pay, they're not taking the FEHB premiums, but they will retroactively deduct it once they finalize their calculations on the pension piece. And then with dental and vision, you communicate with benefits directly after the point of retirement. So you can go to benefits website or give them a call, but they'll send you some welcome packet information as well. And eventually, once OPM has crunched all the numbers and finalized their numbers for your pension amounts, you'll get this little book with a blue cover called My Federal Retirement Benefits. This is an important piece of information to keep in a safe place as well, because it breaks down your choices and the final amounts for each piece of the pie after OPM's finalized the formal numbers for everything. So it'll give you a pretty detailed breakdown of what you chose for federal employee group, the FEGLI options. It'll give you a detailed finalized number for the first supplement. It'll give you a finalized numbers for gross pension amount, survivor benefits, all that stuff. So it's a little booklet with a blue cover. And again, keep that one in a safe place that you can find at some point in the future. This is just a snapshot, services online website. So your options to get a hold of OPM are to go to do an in-person visit in their office in Washington, give them a call, or go to the website. So calling, if you wait on hold for about an hour plus, you can usually get in touch with somebody, but services online is definitely the quickest resource of information. And then this is just a snapshot of OPM's phone number. So, all righty. So how does the benchmarks process work in terms of getting your ducks in a row for end of the year retirement? Again, our goal when we're working with anybody is to provide every federal employee that we talk to with a customized analysis of their benefits and retirement options. So our first meeting, we always call it a fact-finding meeting, where we get in touch with you, figure out a time to meet, and send you a list of identifying information to gather. And the more accurate that information is, the more accurate we can be with the numbers that we crunch and present to you. So it's first meeting is an information gathering and sharing meeting. Second meeting, we take all that info and put together a written plan for you that just breaks down choices for each piece of the pie. So choices for what to do with your federal employee group life insurance, choices for survivor options on pension, give you an income strategy for what to do with TSP money, breakdown. We always like to run a net to net income comparison, because it's easy to forget that you pay for a lot of deductions while you're working full time, and a lot of those go away at the point of being a retiree. So that net income comparison can really show you where the gaps are in terms of net monthly income for planning going forward. So, and then in subsequent meetings, we finalize FERS retirement choices. So weigh the pros and cons of what to do for survivor benefits, weigh the pros and cons of what you want to do with federal employee group life insurance, finalize and fine tune an income strategy with TSP or any outside retirement savings. And then inevitably that leads to the process of opening up. If it makes sense to roll money outside of TSP, there's a whole process that takes place of setting up receiving accounts and getting that whole process going. So, and even after the point of formally retiring, our relationship continues with our clients. So life happens, and sometimes the plan that was put in place at the point of retirement needs to be fine-tuned and tweaked. So it's an ongoing review process even after you formally retire for the clients that we're working with. So what items do I need for the first meeting? So numero uno on the list would be just a recent copy of a pay stub, because it breaks down those deductions that we like to get for that net income comparison. Any sort of retirement estimate that you can get your hands on. So a formal retirement estimate from HR, any estimates from your benefits, My Pay or Employee Express or the GRB platform are always helpful. Just a recent copy of a TSP statement. We always try to get an idea of approximate balance in the funds that you're investing in, and whether or not you're doing a percentage of salary or a flat contribution going in. So, and then any other investment accounts that you have earmarked for retirement income. So any like outside IRAs, 401ks, any accounts like that are earmarked for retirement income. Detail on any outside life insurance policies, long-term care insurance, term insurance, whole life, coverage amounts, face amounts, duration of coverage, all that is helpful. We always ask folks to get just a recent Social Security statement. Divorce decree, if it's applicable for your scenario, is always important to just read back through that one and make sure that you're on the same page. Your thoughts or your memories of what the decree said are in the back of your mind, or what it says in the actual document itself. So, and then sometimes people want to start to add spouses benefits into the mix. So we usually start with the retiring federal employee, and then sometimes people want to start to put a comprehensive plan together. So inevitably there are situations where spouses benefits get added into the mix to put a total plan together. So how about any questions, Patty?
There aren't any questions right now. If you have a question, feel free to go ahead and type in the chat box or just chime in.
Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, hey, when I'm talking to people about retirement and they're getting to that, MRA age, between the MRA and the 62 and Social Security, it seems like a lot of times there's confusion on that first supplement.
Okay.
That you want to get into that here, but
yeah, no, I'd love to. Any specific questions about the first supplement that you've been marinating on the top of your mind?
I guess just some basic. There's a couple different scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I'll have 35 years at 57, and I don't want to work a day past that, but
I hear you.
And then, but is there something that's 60 with 20 years? There's
Yeah.
different
All right.
combination, right?
Yeah. So if you retire at minimum retirement age with 30 years, so that's usually like 56 or 57 or 60 with at least 20 years, you've got enough years of service in to retire with an unreduced retirement from the federal government, but you're not eligible to tap into Social Security yet. You're first eligible to turn on Social Security at age 62. So the first supplement is kind of like this bridge payment. It's a payment that mirrors Social Security, but it gets paid directly from OPM when you're in that early retirement scenario. What Uncle Sam's saying is they're essentially giving you a payment that mirrors Social Security because you can retire without taking a hit, but you're not eligible to get the payment directly from Social Security yet. So it's usually for most folks that supplemental payments between like $1,000 and $1,500 a month. So, but the one caveat about the supplement is if you're getting it, there's an earnings test that's applied, and the earnings test is the same as Social Security. So in a nutshell, you can't get the supplement and then go make like an unlimited amount of W-2 salary type of income. So, but if you're in a boat where you're looking at making some robust income after the point of formally retiring from the federal government, there are ways around that earnings test. It just depends on what your plans are after you formally separate service from the federal government. So did that answer your question? Yeah.
Is there a formula or something? Let's say you're slated to get $2,000 just for round numbers a month at 62 from Social Security.
Yeah.
Or you get a percentage of that?
In a nutshell, it's the more years of FERS service you have, the closer that supplemental payment is going to be to your age 62. The supplement is based on your age 62 Social Security payment, but the supplement is never as much as age 62 Social Security, because supplement is just based off your FERS service, where Social Security takes into account your entire working history and it's indexed for inflation. So that's just a long-winded way of saying most of the time supplemental payments between like $1,000 and $1,500 a month, and then at 62, a lot of folks, they're eligible to start Social Security, and that Social Security amount at 62 is usually between like $500 and $1,000 a month more than what they were getting from the supplement.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions, Patty?
Doesn't look like it.
Well, like you said, thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you think of any other questions, feel free to give me a call. You can always send me an email or just submit them directly through our website. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you guys at some point in the near future.